Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to the RAF Lightning's Best of Verstappen Season 3 here on F1 25. My name is Max Ring. I'll be taking you through all of tonight's action, and tonight we are here at the Red Bull Ring in the Styrian Hills of Spielberg, Austria. As you can see, here is the track map for this evening: 4.318 kilometers or 2.683 miles, 10 turns with 7 to the right and 3 to the left. It should be a very frantic and chaotic race in front of us with a plenty of overtaking opportunities. Here is your calendar for this evening. Of course, we are here at Spielberg in Austria before we make a trip over to Silverstone. Then we head to Spa, into Lagos, Yas Marina, Suzuka, Bahrain, the Hungaroring, Texas for Austin, and then Zandvoort 2. That will be the end of the season, and it should be a very interesting one indeed. So, hello everybody, welcome to the Comms Corner. As I previously mentioned, my name is Max Ring, and I'll be taking you through all of tonight's actions. Talking about tonight's action, we run you through the drivers' standing. So it's Josh who leads the way after a first and a second place. He's actually tied on points with with Tank for that top spot. They're on 43 points each. Before it is Jack Lemon in third. He's got a third place. He is on 23 points. Then it is Stevie Mac on 15, followed by Cat Plane in fifth with 12. YB the Orthodox in sixth place with 12 points as well. So two drivers tied on 12 points. Two drivers tied for the top of the standings. Then we have George BL on 11 points in seventh. The Asset, Atomic Tristan, and Full Damage Queen in 8th, 9th and 10th, all on 10 points. Then we have RM Bomber in 11th. 12th is Kinder with 4 points, before the Flash with 2, and 12th Maniac with 1. Then we have Wingnut, Boombeam, Crow, Ham, and Ben Tamalin, unfortunately, have not scored any points all season long. But we are in, of course, for a short qualifying session. So 18 minutes of qualifying backed up by a 36-lap race, which will give us a total race distance of 155.448 kilometers. And, of course, a lap record in real life is held by Carlos Sainz with a 1 minute 5.619. That was set back in 2020. Looking at an average pit loss around here of an 18.9 second stop. So it's not too long in the pit lane, but around a circuit like Austria, the undercut could be very, very powerful indeed. Something that the drivers will have to look out for. And actually, joining me in the commentary box, just as we started, we have Poundland. How are you, my friend?
Hello, good evening. I thought I wasn't going to make this one, but I'm here, which is the main thing.
It certainly is. But yeah, welcome to the commentary box. Of course, literally just as I started, you made it, so you couldn't have timed that any better. And we should be in for an interesting race tonight here, Poundland. How are we going to find things?
It is going to be interesting, isn't it? Austria, whether you're watching the esports, whether you're watching the real life Formula One, it always brings just that little bit of spice, doesn't it? We saw it last year with Lando and Max Verstappen, didn't we? Having that incident, rendering Lando Norris out of the Grand Prix, Max able to finish. Then obviously again this year with Lando and Oscar on the run to turn 4. So it always brings drama, and you know what? This is going to be a fun one.
It certainly is going to be a fun one. Yeah, as you mentioned, in real life as well, there are many of opportunities around this circuit for contact collisions or even just hard racing to occur. I mean, even in the middle sector, we've seen drivers in real life and in esports pull off some magnificent moves through the likes of turns 6 and 7, the two longer left-handers on the road, two of the three left-handers on the road, should I say, and the only two that are actually corners. But this circuit, it just completely is all about overtaking, all about straight line speed, and of course, it's a circuit which if you're out of that DRS here, George, you're going to see yourself fall further and further back of the train and the car in front. And then that can pose a real big challenge for the greater picture of the race.
Well, yeah, exactly. The DRS is so strong around here. It's because we've got the free zones, obviously, on the main straight, and then between turns 1 and turn 3, then obviously from turn 3 down to turn 4. It is vital you stay within the DRS here, because the problem is, like you said, if you come out of it, you're going to fall further and further back just because of the nature of the circuit. It's the shortest track in Formula One. And with that, it's a very, very short lap time. So you make a mistake, you're going to find it very hard to gain that time back. So staying in that DRS is absolutely vital. But at the same time, it can make quite a few DRS trains. So sometimes you may want to pull back a little bit, recharge the batteries, allow the other people in front to fight. So then when you go for it, you're able to get through a little bit easier.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, you can use the battery and the tire advantage you'll then have to your use, and it's all about strategy around a circuit like Austria. And before even the race, this circuit is probably one of the hardest in qualifying to get any track position at all. It's a super tricky one with how close the lap times are, as you mentioned, the shortest circuit on the calendar. And that just makes things 10 times harder, especially over one lap when there's such little time to be found. That 1,000th to even a tenth could see yourself go from pole all the way to the back of the grid in a matter of a blink of an eye.
Well, yeah, that's it. Like you said, the problem is because it's such a short track, getting that kind of qualifying position is very, very difficult. For the pure fact that you could be coming out the pit lane thinking, yeah, I've got a huge gap. Actually, the car is about to come through turn 1. You've waited a little bit too long. So it is very much, you need to be very quick on the game here to get a good qualifying position to make sure that you can get out and set a time without being impeded or impeding the car behind you. It's very, very difficult. However, if you get the lap spot on, you are going to be flying. You'll be at the top of the timesheets. You will get that pole position. But at the same time, one little mistake around this circuit, it can cause you from going from the top of the grid, from starting at the back. And starting at the back is not where you want to be around here.
No, certainly not. Even though there is plenty of overtaking opportunities, it still is not where you want to particularly be. Of course, with those overtaking opportunities, you do get a little bit of a saving grace. But being at the back of the field around any circuit, even one like this, is somewhere where you want to keep away, and it's forbidden really in your mental state. But yeah, of course, we're going to be looking at probably a 2-stop tonight here, George. There could be potential on the cards for a 1-stop, but most drivers are expecting for that 2-stop, a medium hard medium or a medium hard hard. So it's going to be interesting on the strategy as well, because there's not only one pit stop to contend with the overcut or undercut, there's an extra one too. So there's more opportunities for times to be found or lost.
Well, yeah, that's it. It's been 2 stops for pretty much the start of the season anyway. If anyone's been following us over the course of the last few races, it's been 2 stops for majority of the races. So it's nothing new that we've seen. But at the same time, we are in the Austrian Alps. We have seen races where it's gone from dry to wet to back to dry. So we couldn't even see the wet tyres at play here, because in the Austrian mountains, we just don't know what the weather is going to be like. But if it stays warm, it will definitely be a 2-stop. We're probably going to be looking at the medium soft. I don't think hards will come into play too much. But getting the strategy right, as it is in every Grand Prix, is vital. Get the strategy wrong, as we saw with YB Orthodox last week, it can send you from the top to the bottom very quickly.
Yeah, it certainly can. It's all about strategy. The smallest, either a lap out or a lap too close or a lap too long, could certainly see yourself fall out of contention, especially with a short track like this with DRS trains galore. And the undercut is it actually works surprisingly well around a circuit like this. Of course, a lot of medium to low speed corners, so it's really only the final sector where there's high speed, so having that tyre wear and the tyre grip out of the corners and on the corner exits, it's so crucial, especially if you're trying that undercut, because it can find you heaps of time by just being able to put your foot down that 2 to 3 tenths earlier, finding yourself over the course of the lap around about a second.
Well, yeah, that's it. You're probably looking at the first sector. You are pretty much flat out for the whole sector, because that first timing beam is right up into turn 3, I believe, or even just at the end of just before turn 4 even. So that's where the first timing beam is. Then you come into that second sector. That second sector is tight, it's technical. Do you want to throw a lunge into turn 5? Probably not, but we've seen it done, and it can make for interesting racing. So being tight and technical, try not to hit that gravel on the outside. It's really going to be vital for these guys when it comes to qualifying, and even when it comes down to the race. And then you come into that final sector, the 2 flowing right-hand corners. Only have to drop 1 gear into the first and then drop a couple gears into the second onto that final straight. Again, get the exit right, especially coming onto the main pit straight, because that is known for its track limits. We're probably going to see a lot of track limit penalties just for that corner alone this evening. Is where we're going to see drivers go out wide, try and find that extra bit of time, but actually maybe go a fraction over it and then lose their lap time. Not just for that lap, but the lap after as well in qualifying. So we are going to see, you know, some bits like that, but getting it right, again, that's going to really set up for your race.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I mean, we didn't mention that fact of track limits. So easy to just go off the circuit around a course like this, where you're so close to the track limits on corner exit. You are around most circuits, but this place you're of course carrying so much more entry speed, cornering speed. It's very easy just to naturally understeer off the road, and as you mentioned in those final 2 corners as well, even the likes of turn 1, 2, because it's very wide on the entry for a majority of these corners, isn't it, George? And then once you get to the exit, it narrows up by about 2 to 3 car lengths on the corner exit, so you're really squished up against the outside of the road, and through those higher speed corners, you are right on the ragged limit of just teetering over the edge of either invalidating a lap or picking up some warnings in the race. So it just adds an extra thing that the drivers need to look out for, and especially in the dirty air too, it is absolutely crucial that you nail everything when it comes to track limits, the tyre strategy. But yeah, track limits, I think, could play a massive factor this.
It will. Track limits are going to cause is going to cause a major distraction. As you said, into turn 1 is where we're going to see it most, I think, and then into the final corner, or even those last 2 corners. That's where we're going to see the majority of the track limits this evening. So if we are going to see anything, that is where we're going to see it. But drivers are now out on track.
Yes, we are just now going to quickly head over trackside as qualifying has just begun. So as you join us now on the track side, you see drivers heading out onto the circuit for this 18-minute qualifying session. It should be a rather interesting one indeed. Of course, we've got, I think it's Josh and, of course, Tank squabbling for that top spot in the standings, tied on points here, George. And that just makes qualifyings like this oh so more important, even though it's the start of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, as much we all know what Martin Brundle would say here, you don't get any prizes for Saturday, unless it is a sprint weekend, of course. But it is right. We're not going to see any points delivered for the qualifying, but it will set you up beautifully for the race. Getting that perfect qualifying session might bring you in for some points in the race. If it is all square, we've had a great couple of races at the start of this season. It's really making it tight at the top. And it's going to remain that way, I think, for the majority of this season. So coming into Austria, it is going to be one brilliant Grand Prix.
Certainly is. James now starts his first lap of the session, the first lap of the evening as well. So as we head up into turn 1, down to 4th gear, then want to bring that car as wide on the exit as you possibly can before you open up that DRS. Going to be using your battery up into turn 3. Of course, turn 2 says little kink left up the hill as you then hit the brakes at 100-meter board. 16.1 in the first sector. Not too shabby there so far as you then get back on the power. DRS open once more as you head down into the swash gold of turn 4. Once again, we'll be braking around about 75 meters down to 4th gear. Try clip that inside apex curb and then run the car back out wide as you head through turn 5. Another kink on this circuit. 2 corners on here, well 3 corners including turn 8 as well. Aren't really corners as you head through turn 6, a little bit wide through there as you then head back down the gears into turn 7 back to 5th as you go back on the power into the 2 fastest corners on this circuit. Turns 9 and 10 down to 6th gear. You then want to bring the car out wide once more. Invalidation hotspot here. There's a car just up in front, luckily not getting too much in the way, but James is going to be the first driver to be setting a lap time of 1:05.892. I'm expecting that to potentially be beaten, but not too bad for a first lap here this evening.
No, not at all. Brilliant. Nice and clean what we saw there, and we see it's already been beaten by AJP there, 1:05.5. So we've already had it beaten, but the track's still green at the moment. There's not a lot of rubber on the circuit, so the grip's only going to become more and more and more as the session goes on. So we are going to see some faster lap times. We're seeing a lot of yellow flags in the middle. That's just cars slowing down. I don't see anything particular going on there. But wonderful lap time. We just need to see what happens as the session goes on.
Yes, we certainly will. Yeah, the track very green at the moment. Going to be just getting banker laps in as well, making sure they get that lap time on the board as the set actually now goes to the top of the times. 1 minute 4.3, a whole second, 1.2 seconds clear of AJP. His Crow now goes up into third as well. But yeah, this circuit, very green. Drivers just wanting to be able to get these runs in and make sure that they can get on their merry way and just have that lap on the board just in case they invalidate the rest, because the more laps you invalidate here, George, if you haven't got one, the likes of, say, Tank so far, or George or Kinder, where they have invalidated, if they keep doing that throughout the session, the pressure slowly builds, and that's when you start to overdrive the car, and that's a real big issue in qualifying, as someone has just spun in front of Josh. That was nearly a big moment. Across the line goes Josh, one of the championship protagonists, and he sets a 1 minute 4.319, only just in front of the SF.
Yeah, very lucky not to collect. I think it was Boom Beam that had a spin on that final corner. But Josh, brilliant. Into the 104s already. We're in the low 104s as well, so we are going to see it probably change into the 103s very shortly as the track grips up. But it was a great lap there by Josh. But again, very lucky not to hit Moving on the outside. Not too sure what happened. I think he must have just caught the curb on the outside. A little bit too much. Put the throttle down, especially if you're using medium to no traction out on the game settings. Coming out of that corner, a little bit too much throttle. You are around. And yeah, that's just going to be another cool down lap for Boom Beam there. Probably entering the pits this lap to recharge and get some more fuel on board and a fresh set of tyres, because those tyres are not going to be very usable, I don't think.
No, especially after that spin, of course. Even though it's a short circuit, there is quite high tyre wear around this circuit here in the Styrian Alps. Of course, a lot of longer corners, and they're quite medium to high speed, especially in that final sector. And the middle sector is very much medium speed corners as well. So you do put a lot of strain, especially on that right-hand side of the car. So it's certainly one where doing one lap is going to be the optimum around this circuit here, George, isn't it? You can't really do two back-to-back, or because you'll lose too much performance from the tyre, and it then causes a big issue on actually being able to get the lap times in and be able to get your run plan in as well.
Well, yeah, that's it. I think the problem is you really want to run these cars quite empty on fuel on this qualifying lap, because that's how you're going to get the most speed. That's inevitably how you're going to get onto pole position. But at the same time, only one lap, because your battery is going to deplete very quickly around here. We've seen it. Cars are crossing the line with around 30% of battery remaining as they cross the line, looking at the telemetry. So 30% to do 2 laps, no, not enough. And then with the tyres as well, at the moment, they're going to really use up the grip on the tyre to 1 lap anyway. So 1 lap is all you're going to be able to do here this evening.
Yeah, it certainly is. As Tank just heading through the first sector split there. Apparently Purple with 15.8. They could be rivaling his championship rival of Josh on this opening attack for him. He's only just come out the pit lane, and he's a bit offset to everybody else. So as we now head into the left hand of turn 6 down to 5th gear, run the car back out wide through the middle sector split. Apparently Purple once again with a 44.365. So let's see what he can do through this final sector, and can he break potentially into those 1 minute frees down to 6th gear through turn 9, and we'll be hard on the brakes once more into the final corner. Keeps it clean through there, all in fair play of track limits. Across the line he goes, and we do find our first driver into the 1 minute freeze. It's a 1 minute 3.861, a 5/10 gap to Josh behind. That's a beautiful lap there from Tank, isn't it, George?
It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I was watching the offboard. I know you guys were watching the onboard. I was watching the offboard, and it was just so clean around the corners. He was using his ERS, using the overtake ability. Every opportunity good. He crossed the line with 10% remaining on his ERS. So using every last little droplet of that battery power that was there, and it just resulted in that 5/10 difference. That is going to be a time really hard to beat, I think.
Yeah, I think it will be too. And of course, that just shows everybody else has been coming to the line with about 30% battery. he's used 20% more, and he's found half a second on the man in second. So it just shows how key battery usage is around this circuit. Of course, with the amount of straight lines there are, being able to keep your deployment and also keeping that battery above 10%, which Tank literally just got to the threshold of before you start derating. It's oh so crucial to get that extra engine power out of the car, that extra speed down the straights as Full Damage Queen now comes up to the line. Let's see where they go as they cross the line. Now up into 10th place, 1 minute 6.4. But yeah, battery just seems so crucial in this qualifying session, and if you use every ounce of it like Tank, you'll find a heap of lap time compared to the rest.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what Tank did. Tank used every last bit, and used every last bit of the track that was legally available for him to use. And that's what got him pole position. At the minute, we're not seeing times get up there. I saw a couple of cars come through, but they were invalidated, so that was a shame. I saw someone come across the line with 2% battery, so proved how much they were using there. Must be listening to what we're saying, I think. Still a lot of cars out on track. They're trying to get as much free space. Normally, we'd see the cars start to dip in at this moment, you know, kind of reset themselves, because if anyone else is in the UK this evening, you'll know it's a very warm night tonight, especially in my bedroom, I'll say. So racing online is probably racing like real life right now. Very, very hot, very, very sticky. So they're going to be wanting to get into the pit lane and reset and just have a drink and reset themselves properly so that then they can focus on what they're doing. But cars are just heading out on track, trying to get as much as they can, especially with 8 minutes left of the session.
Yeah, not long to go really at all, and it is very hot over here in the UK. So these drivers will certainly be, with the pressure as well, be sweating in their cockpits and their rigs and whatever they are racing on. It'll be extremely difficult to keep themselves focused on the task as hand. And with so many laps, even though it's a short circuit, but still with 36 laps this evening, it's very much one, maybe not on the physical side, but mainly on the mental fatigue side as well, of course. 36 laps of hard racing, especially if there's moves being made left, right and centre around you. You've got to keep your wits about you. You've got to look everywhere and keep your eyes behind and in front of you, but even while looking at the apexes. So it just makes things that 10 times harder. And in the late stage of the race, we could see some more mistakes come into play, couldn't we, George? As drivers start to just mentally be a bit more tired and start to lose potentially a little bit of concentration on the track in front of them. And it can play a big issue in terms of the race as well, because a driver at the front of the field battling for position might make a costly error that drops him out of contention at all.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I must admit I'm very much guilty of that. I find that the mental fatigue just from focusing on what I'm doing can really, really impact what I'm doing. As I'm watching Josh come across the line now, what's it going to be? He stays second, 103.9, getting closer to Tank. But yeah, the mental fatigue is going to hit tonight from just focusing. So it's 30 laps of racing around here. It's going to go quick, but at the same time, you mix in kind of focusing on a screen for so long and doing the same movements, you're going to have that fatigue. But then also, like we said, we've got the heat as well. The heat's going to have that impact in the fatigue because they're going to want to try and cool themselves down in the pit stops. They're not going to be in the pit lane for very long. So they've really got to take advantage of that. But hopefully the drivers are able to combat that. But as more fatigue sets in, like you said, there's going to be more mistakes that happen. We could see a lot more sliding, a lot more mistake, you know, going wide, maybe even a couple of crashes. Not intentional, obviously, but just from that lapse in concentration, it could end your race very, very quickly.
Yeah, it certainly can. Any sort of mental fatigue can really start to play a part, and even the physical ones as well. Especially for the drivers in their rigs with their steering wheels, because we're constantly moving their arms and you're constantly moving about in your seat as well, trying to get into a comfortable spot for each corner as you slam onto the brakes. So it just makes things a little bit more difficult for you. But for Tank, he did invalidate his previous lap as what we just saw on the broadcast, and unfortunately it would have been an improvement into the 3.7, so there is time in hand for the man currently on provisional pole. But the question is, will he be able to find it before Josh is able to fight back? Of course, a lovely just under 4/10 improvement there from Josh. Saw him fall a 10th behind Tank, so it's very close between the top two, a little bit further back by around about 4/10 to the Asset, who currently lies in third. Then they've Ben in fourth, who is just under a second behind Tank before we head into everybody else. It's George, Crow, Pryor, Bomber, AJP and James rounding out your top 10. And I think I did see someone as well here, George, go out on a set of the mediums for a run. That could be some good data heading into the main race.
Yeah, absolutely. Going out to medium to set a banker is what a lot of the drivers do, because then it saves that set of soft tyres for the race. But getting that data for the medium, seeing how quick it can, but it's not going to be too representative, because you've got to remember the cars at the minute are on very low fuel because they want to set the fastest lap time. When we go into the race, there's going to be a lot more fuel in the car. So it's not going to have too much of an impact, but getting those ideas of what lap times are going to look like as the race go on, and especially for maybe if they went for a soft medium strategy, you could, or even a soft medium in that matter, then we'd see what those times are like as we head into the final couple of minutes or the last few laps of the race. Bomber's coming across the line now. Bomber's been quite quick, but he's just invalidated as he exits of the final corner. We said that before, and it's happened here. Golf Maniac, I should say, made that mistake, not Bomber, it's just the same colour on the screen. Golf Maniac was setting a really good time as well, but it's a shame. Gonna have to box and get some new tyres on that. 3 minutes to go though. It's going to be touch and go.
That certainly will be touch and go. Of course, they've got to get the car back into the garage, and go again. And it'll be very risky if he can get it in. So he'll probably be into pit lane around about the 2 minute and 40-second mark. So I don't think he'll be able to do it in Atomic Tristan doing the same thing at the final corner. It just shows how crucial these invalidations are. Would have been a 5.8. That would have put him into 12th place. Unfortunately there for Tristan. I think that's going to be his session over and done with. The Asset, who currently lies third fastest, up by 2.5 tenths in the middle sector. Are we going to see him potentially now take the fight to Tank at the front of the field as he now heads into the penultimate and before the final corner? Not much battery left in the tank for the Asset as he heads up to the line. What would this be? Can he get onto the front row? No, just misses out by just over a tenth and a half. That was so close for the Asset to get on the front row. That's going to be his session done with. He won't be able to get back out, so it's going to be a best start of third. But Ben in fourth, he's actually aborted his lap time thus far. I think the main ones we are waiting on here, though, George, are certainly Tank and Josh as they squabble it out for pole position.
Yeah, absolutely. Tank and Josh are currently in the pit lane. Tank is now leaving. Josh is still in. Josh is going to have to leave the pit lane shortly if he wants any chance of getting that pole position. But I think, yeah, he's just leaving the pit lane now. So it's going to be the last kind of lap squabble as we come into the end of qualifying. Still lots to do, though. And actually, with the Asset there, I'm very surprised Asset kept his lap time. Looked like all four wheels were off for a minute. But the game said it was legal, so we'll take it as gospel, and was able to keep that time. But very, very tight at the top now. It's going to be interesting into the last minute.
It certainly is. It's going to come all down to that checkered flag as AJP nearly gets impeded by one of the cars there. I think that was Cat Plane just getting out of the way on the exit of the first corner. He's still up in that first sector though, but just under a tenth of a second, a little bit wide from the apex of where he really would have wanted to be up at turn 3 as he heads on to the DRS as Pryor heading himself up into 5th place. Nice lap time there, 1 minute 4.995, so our 5th driver into the sub 1 minute 5. So for AJP, can they do the same fate? Can they do a similar achievement? Getting into those sub 1 minute 5. We'll need about 4 tenths of an improvement. He's up by just under 3 in that middle sector. So all boils down now to this final part of the lap before we go on board with Tank as he sets his lap time once we see AJP cross the line. So what's this going to be for AJP? Will it be enough? Something's happened there for you, Asset. George. And AJP goes up into 5th. Asset as he impeded Tank.
No, Asset, what's happened there? Asset's coming round turns 5 and 6 and lost it at turn 5 and really did spin out there. It was on a very, very quick lap time, though, for the Asset. What a shame. That's the end of his qualifying.
Oh, that's hugely disappointing there for the Asset. 3rd place is all it's going to be. Tank is up by 2 tenths in that middle sector. Is Josh improving on his lap time? No, he's invalidated. I think that's going to be it for Josh. That will be all he wrote in this session. He won't have enough time to go again. So for Tank, this is all mainly just a statement to show his real intent. The throwing the gauntlet down. What could he have possibly done? He gets into the 1 minute 3.6 is a beautiful lap time from the provisional pole man to strengthen his grasp at the top of this field. We have more drivers that will potentially set their lap times. George, he's invalidated his lap time as well, so it will be the man tied for first in the championship with the man in second place on the grid. Tank will take your pole position here this evening with a spectacular lap at the Dying Embers.
Oh, it was a brilliant lap, wasn't it? So clean and so quick. And he's just got quicker as the session's gone on. I'm looking at AJP. What can AJP do crossing the line now? Is he going to go any higher? No, stays where he's 5th place. CRISPR is invalidated. I think the last one across the line will be FDQ. FDQ's coming around the final couple of corners now. What can she do? Around the final corner, keep it nice and tight. Doesn't want to invalidate, keeps it on the track. Crossing the line now. What can FDQ do? It's staying in P13. Qualified over, my friend. I'm lost for words. Tank, what a lap. Shame for Josh. Not too sure what happened to Josh. I think he might have made a mistake into the final corner, lost both potential lap times. He was only out of turn 1, heading to turn 2, where we saw the invalidation pop up.
The pressure is very much on when you're in that latter stage of qualifying with a lap or not, especially if you are the driver chasing that pole position. Are in that second or third spot of a real opportunity, and unfortunately for Josh, he crumbled before the lap even began, so that's really unfortunate to see. But for Tank, he would have found the improvement anyway. He went even quicker than what he did on the invalidated lap he had. We're just waiting for Crispy to retire, and what we will have in store for the race. But Tank with a spectacular lap, but of course, it was only qualifying. The points ain't won in this session. And now we're going to head on to the race. And with only 3 tenths separating that top 2, this race is certainly going to be interesting.
Absolutely. Three tenths is all it's taken. But my, oh my, the race is going to be even tighter, I think. Like we said, we've seen these two all season have been battling neck and neck. And we're probably going to see it again this evening. But let's run it down. Let's run down the top 10, I think, before the timer ends.
Yep. So it is Tank on pole position, followed by Josh in second, the Asset third. He's only 4 tenths behind, so the top 3 is very close indeed. Then it's Ben, AJP, George, CRISPR, Crow, Hammers, and Bomber rounding out your top 10 before we head to Jack Lemon, Boom Beam, Full Damage Queen, Cat Plane, Hinder, and I couldn't see the last 2 just before we head off. So head on to the race director once we have loaded in before we start this 36 lap race. Of course, with 2 pit stops potentially on the cards, drivers are going to see around about a 38-second loss overall in the race, including both the pit stops. If everything goes smoothly, quickly head to the race director in a moment's time to get the rest of your field. George, who's your prediction for the race victory?
It's going to be a tight one, isn't it? I think it's definitely going to be between Tank and Josh. But then again, like we've seen in Austria before, we've seen it with Max and Lando, we've seen it with Lando and Oscar in recent years. Incidents happen because of how tight, especially up into turn 1 it is. Drivers now back to head on the formation lap. To finish off, Kinder 15th, Golf Maniac 16th, Atomic Tristan starting at the back. But like I said, we're probably going to see some incidents here, and if it's between the 2 at the top, it could really shake it up. But we see shake-ups here all the time. So I can't even put a prediction on this, because I'd love to say it's against Tank and Josh, but I don't know. I have a feeling, because they're already racing on the formation lap. Could there be an accident here? I'll have to wait and see.
Certainly will, and of course, not only in recent times, we've seen it in the early when the calendar, the circuit returned to the calendar back likes of 2015. for Rosberg and Hamilton come to blows. Shows that two title rivals are not afraid of a little bit of contact around this circuit. Comes out on top. Quickly talking about the tyres, Josh, Ben, AJP, Pro and Boombeam all on the mediums. Everybody else on the hard compounder tyres. So everything points here, George, to Josh getting the favourable launch off the start of the grid. But then, of course, he'll have to come in earlier. And this is where the strategy is going to play a huge factor here this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh is going to have the better kind of strategy at the start, only because those medium compound tyres, very easy to warm up, have a lot more grip. Tank, however, has gone on to the hard. The hard tyre, less grip, but will last a lot longer, so that stint's going to go a lot longer. And this race is going to be more entertaining than a Eurovision Song Contest, which is returning to Austria next year, believe it or not.
Yes. Certainly, after winning this year. I completely forgot about that fact, to be fair.
I was waiting to put that in. I was waiting.
That was a very rogue pull, but I do like that fact. That is a very interesting one to throw in indeed, as we've actually had 4 now disqualification from the formation app. Of course, they're not disqualified overall. It's only they're just a little bit further back on their starting grid. But here we are then, waiting for that 5 lights to commence. And here we are then, 5 red lights here in Spielberg. And we're underway for the Austrian Grand Prix. And it seems to be a very even getaway from the front 2 on the grid. And Tank has got away better than Josh as they head into turn 1. We got 3, nearly 4 wide in the background. Ben has been able to jump the ascent. Has crashed in the background. That's a cat plane who's unfortunately spun round at the back of the field as we now make our run up into turn 3. Is anyone going to be close enough for a move? Josh looking for it on Tank. There's a slide there from George, who tried attacking the ascent for 4th place. As you can see, Hammer as well versus Golf Maniac over that 10th place on the road to Crow, battling with AJP over 6th place too as they head down into the Swatch Gold of turn 4. Who's going to come out in this battle for 10th? It's going to be Hammers, and then Crow is actually, I think, forced AJP a little bit wide, and he's dropped down into 9th place. So it shows those medium tyres for some working better than others, and for Ben, he's been able to make up into 3rd, and Tank got the dream getaway on those hards.
Yeah, absolutely. Dream getaway on the hard tyre for Tank. Was able to get away, but he was under pressure by Josh on the run to turn 3. The instant at turn 1, cat plane, I think, was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. Got a little bit squeezed, had a spin. We saw a couple of cars going wide as well. And then up into turn 3, I think there was almost a couple of instances there. Josh got very, very close, though, at the top. Almost a bit of contact. But we've got 3 cars already in the running to try and go for Tank. Ben Tomlin just starting to pull back a little bit, but Josh has gone for a move into turn number 3. He's a lock up there, but he's able to make the move stick. DRS is now enabled, of course, for this. DRS open for Tank. What are we going to see for Tank here with that DRS advantage? They're squeezing each other as far as they can. Tank is going to have a go into turn 3, able to get on the inside and get back into the lead of this Grand Prix.
Lovely driving between the pair, but Josh is fighting back on the corner exit of the Swatch Gold as we head now into turn 6. Who's going to come out on top? Josh sweeps it around the outside. A spectacular move from the man on the mediums. That extra grip paying dividends in this early stage of the race. A beautiful drive around the outside. That was a bold, it was brave, and it was a beautiful overtake on this second lap of the Grand Prix. But Tank won't take that one lightly. He wouldn't like being overtaken like that. He'll want to fight back on those hards, but he knows he has to play the long game. Wear those mediums out for Josh. Maybe force him into a little bit of squabbling here, George, to wear out those mediums. So Tank can have the advantage a little bit later down the line.
Absolutely. He's just got such a better drive on the run to turn number 4, but Tank's got DRS again. He won't want to overtake here too much. I think he might have a little bit of a look as Josh locks up, almost having Tank go into the back. Crow's overtaking George Biel. Able to go, but we've got a yellow flag down at turn 3. We're just going to find out what's happened there. But I can't. It's gone green again. As we look at Tank again, Tank's going to go for a run into turn 3. Locks up. Is Josh going to have the better drive again? He is indeed. And is able to overtake before the corner. But it's those medium tyres. It's just able to get the grip out of the corner even better. And is able to make the move a lot better. And get that final drive to be able to retain the lead. But those mediums are going to go off a little bit quicker. And that's what Tank's doing. He's playing the mind game of, I'm going to make you push as hard as you can to wear your tyres out. So you have to pit earlier. I can take my lead back and show you how it's done. Yeah,
he's especially going to be using up those rear tyres, trying to get the lunges and the runs out of the corners here is Josh, and that yellow flag, actually, we just caught it on the stream. It was for Crow. He got tagged, I think, by AJP. Going for that move. No, sorry, from George. Going for that move for 5th place. And unfortunately saw himself spin around. He's down into 7th with AJP actually now squabbling with George over that 5th place. As George back to the inside into turn 3 as he got the move done. Going to be side by side potentially on corner X. It'll be DRS to AJP as they head down into the swash goal to the right hand side. He goes and he's really being squeezed here by George. A little bit of contact into the corner. George locking the rears and AJP finally sees himself through as Chris Pryor as AJP rounded into the wall. And also I think same as well for Chris Pryor as well. 2 cars off into the wall. George has gone round. Sorry, it wasn't AJP, my mistake. Ooh. But George has gone round into the wall, lost part of his front wing. And unfortunately for him, he's fallen all the way down the back of the field. He'll need a new front wing and he'll be off the back of this train. He'll need a safety car if he wants any chance of catching up in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like on the end, as he was coming into the corner, he slowed down lots. He was being squeezed, but then he took onto the grass in the middle of the corner, got those tyres dirty, put his foot down, and away he goes. There was quite a few incidents there in quick succession, I think. FDQ's also come into pit lane. Oh, George BL has entered the pit lane illegally, I think. That's bringing us to look at the stewards after the Grand Prix. He entered the pit lane after the pit entry mark. So unless that was just because of the front wing, that's something that may have to be looked at. But FDQ also getting a front wing change in the pits. But yeah, lots of incidents there in quick succession. Couldn't keep up.
No, it's very difficult because we saw George go around, and then just as the AJP cameras were on board of him cut off, we then saw another car go around, and I think that could have potentially be Jack Lemon or somebody, as Crow has been overtaken by a Bomber. That is for 7th place on the road. That would have been a really nice move, actually, potentially into turn 7, as Crow is trying to fight back into this one. Not able to get close enough just yet as we then head into the right-hander, and all of this. Tank was able to get back past Josh for that race lead. We caught that one on the stream. It was a nice DRS move, and I think Josh's tyres might slowly be starting to become worse and worse with all squabbling. They've dropped Ben Tomlin behind. He's now 1.1 seconds as up at the front of the field into turn 3. Josh is all over the back of Tank, but a little bit of a moment out of turn 3 could now cross his run all the way down into the Swash Gold.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be interesting. We saw Ben Tomlin and the Asset have a bit of a squabble as well. Ben Tomlin able to make it. We've got another yellow flag up at turn 3. I think that was 4. Looking at it, Tomlin Tristan having a bit of a moment going wide. But there is another car of Boom Beam in the runoff as well. Able to carry on going. Crisper now with 3-second time penalty as well. But lots of moves being made. But the gaps are now starting to form a little bit. Josh is now half a second back. Still in DRS range, able to still make some moves. But obviously what he's going to be thinking about now is his tyres, because we're only 5 laps in. He doesn't want to wear them out too much, but he's on a pretty good run up on the run to turn 1.
Yes, he certainly is, but I don't think he'll want to go for it here. He's just going to be waiting for that move potentially up into turn 3 and try and hold him off once more, as Ben Tomlin and the Asset are now squabbling once more. And actually, it was a poor run there from Tomlin out of turn 1. It's allowed the Asset to get through, as here comes Josh on Tank. Is he going to go for the move here, or is he focusing on this exit? It's a very crucial exit. Is turn 3. You're off camber, easy to drop the rear, and Josh a lot better this time around. But I just don't think he'll get close enough for that move into the Swash Gold at turn 4. No, he's just going to sit behind Tank once more, but they are starting to drop the 2 behind. So it's a 2-horse race at the moment out in front, but the Asset will want to fight back as Golf Maniac and Boom Beam come into pit lane, probably to change tyres and some front wing changes as well. But for Josh, he's still trying his best, but in that dirty air, those medium tyres will be wearing more and more. Of course, the car sliding all across the road, and we're going to see how that does affect these mediums for the rest of this stint.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what Josh is probably going to have to start thinking about is more his strategy. What's he going to do? Is he going to run these mediums as far as he can? He won't go as far as the hards. He could be close, potentially, but at the same time, probably will not want to do that, just so then he can look for maybe the undercut to try and overtake through pitting a little bit earlier and hoping Tank makes a bit of a mistake. They're getting very, very close on the run to turn 3, though. Gets a really good drive out. DRS is going to be enabled, but he is like charging the battery a bit. Bomber's overtaking AJP. Now Josh is going to have a look on the run to turn number 4. He's on the inside. Tank's going to be really, really careful here not to have contact. I think there's a little bit there, a little bit of wheel banging, but absolutely fine. Josh, though, hasn't got that drive he once had on the run to turn number 5, though. Sticking in second for the time being.
Yeah, just having to sit behind for now. Looked for the lunge, just wasn't alongside by enough. Now to get that drive out the corner. I think the hards and the mediums at this stage of the race are now going to converse into one another, and the pendulum will slowly swing into the likes of the Asset and Tank's favour, being on that white-walled, more durable compound of tyre. The pace is going to slowly stabilise once more, and the Asset is really flying at the moment. Only 2 laps ago, that gap was 1.3 seconds. He's now 4 tenths behind, so he's probably got the best pace so far in this race. Tank and Josh, they're going to have to potentially look in their rearview mirrors, as the man in third is certainly on a mission.
Yeah, absolutely. The Asset's been really showing what he was like last season. Last season, the Asset was someone that we had to keep watching because the Asset would just fly. Start this season, we're not really seeing him. This time, he's back, and he's back with a bit of vengeance. I think he's made a mistake somewhere. He was half a second down. He's now 9 tenths behind Josh. So he must have made a mistake somewhere along the road, but he's starting to close that gap a bit more. AJP has boxed. He's got onto the hard tyres a little bit earlier probably than what he was expecting. But again, these hard tyres, they probably won't run to the end. We're only into lap 9 of 36, but could be an interesting strategy pitting early for these hard tyres.
It certainly could be. Of course, that surely to me screams 2-stop strategy. And for AJP, he's going to run those hards for around about, I would say, 20 laps before he comes in for a set of the compound of tyres as the Crow comes in now from those mediums. I'm expecting Josh in rather shortly, to be fair, probably within the next 2-3 laps. I am expecting AMS Josh to come into pit lanes. He's going to look for the move on Tank up into turn 3. No, he is not. You can see how close they get to one another on the onboard shot and how close the Asset gets behind as well. So we make the run down into turn 4. No move, I think, is going to be made unless it's a really late lunge to the inside. No, there is not. So for Josh, still hanging on. And even with those mediums slowly starting to fade, he's showing some good pace to cling on to the back of the Tank, even with DRS. Still a very impressive effort, and Tank isn't really gaining through this middle sector as much as you think he would.
No, he's not really. The Asset, I think what the Asset's game here now is just simply sit back, we'll wait for something to happen. Because we've seen it a couple of times, they've got very, very close. Something can happen between these two front runners. I think that's what the Asset is waiting for. Waiting for a mistake to then capitalise on that and make a move. That's what the Asset's got to wait for here. Unless he finds some speed in these hard tyres against Josh, which he's going to find very, very shortly, he might as well sit back and wait, because that is probably going to be his best strategy.
Certainly is probably going to be best strategy in this race, as Ben Tomlin now comes in to pit lane for a set of the hards as well. All those medium runners have now, except from Josh, diverted on to the hards. Expect Josh to be onto that tyre ever so shortly. As you can see under braking there, really struggling with the rear of the car, just stepping out underneath him. He's having to really soar at the steering wheel and fight the car through all the corners now to just keep it on the road. Really struggling with that rear end grip, as now we start to see Tank break away from Josh. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in this time around, and he does come into the pit lane. So Josh into pit lane. These are crucial moments. Oh, even though it's only the first stop of what should potentially be 2 crucial moments in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, he's had a bit of a moment coming in. He's locked the rears, and he was always sideways coming into the pit lane. That's not going to help Josh at all. But this is what we're going to be seeing now. Josh is going to try get a good outlap now. He's going to have to really rely on the outlap to get as close as he can back to the top 3 to then go for that undercut. Crisper with a 10-second time penalty, speeding in the pit lane. That's really not going to help Crisper there. Josh has come out in the path, I believe, of Hamis. Hamis, he's not even going to try and battle with that. Fresher, harder tyres, is able to try and get past Hamis there. Tank and Asset now have really got to push. There's quite a big gap there for them to push a bit more. But Josh and these newer, harder tyres, is probably going to have a little... He's going to not find too much grip at the start. Going to have to really nurse him in a little bit. But as the laps go on, finding that grip, able to come a bit faster. Tank and Asset better start looking in their mirrors.
Yeah, they certainly will have to. So they'll just use up the rest of this time. Asset's in already. Surprisingly early pit stop there from the Asset on those hards. But that's to cover off that undercut threat from Josh, and that from James really was a crucial moment for Josh's race, because if he got stuck up into turn 3, as you can see a little bit of DC in the pit stop. He is trundling down the pit lane, is the Asset. Bomber into pit lane, staying with James as well. So it shows potentially those hard tyres were wearing quite quickly here. And for Josh, he actually held those mediums out for an impressively long time if the hards can only go this long. And look at the gap he's built in one lap to the Asset behind. He's 3.5 seconds clear. It's been a miraculous outlap from the man now lying in second place.
He's made up for that pit entry mistake, that is for sure. He's found the grip and he's able to find the speed quite quickly. 18.6 seconds is the gap. It's going to be tight on the exit, I believe, between Josh and Tank. So it's going to be very, very tight. Tank's going to have to start thinking of when to pit, and Tank has come in now. Tank is going to risk it and see what happens.
This, all eyes really do turn to a 2-stop race for the remainder of this one. And everybody on that final stint will surely be on the yellow-walled medium compounder tyres. Josh just coming through the final corner. Tank now trundling down the pit lane once more. Who's going to come out on top here? Will it be Josh? Will it be Tank? And Josh gets the undercut. He's jumped the man who was leading a majority of this race, and he's clear by a real mile. He's potentially 2.5 seconds clear. No, it's going to be 2 seconds by the time Tank gets up to speed between Josh and Tank, and that is how big the undercut is. He's gained about 2.5 tenths in the space of 2 laps. I said it was crucial around here, George, and it certainly has paid off for Josh, currently at the top of the field, and Tank on a set of the hards. I'm surprised by that call.
I'm surprised by it. That means he's going to have to stop again. Rules of Formula 1, especially in dry conditions, you have to change compounds at least once. If you change from hard to hard, you know you're going to have to pit again. So he's dedicated to a 2-stop strategy there. He is starting to catch up, though. 1.6 is now the gap. But Josh, incredible. From a pit entry, which he probably would want to forget, now leading the Grand Prix with 2 exceptional laps. Incredible, but Tank is already looking to capitalise on those fresher tyres, even if it is 2 laps fresher.
Yes, he certainly is. He will come in again. I said the 2-stop is looking possible, and I was expecting Tank to be on those medium compounder tyres, to a medium to the end of this race, but he thinks different. He thinks those hards for this second stint are the way to go, and he has brought that gap down by around about a second nearly at this point from when he exited the pit lane. AJP is able to get past Atomic Tristan. That is for position on the road, but not position overall, as Crow actually does follow him through, as Tristan on those tyres going to be really difficult. There's a yellow flag in the final sector. Kinder has retired from the race in the pit lane, unfortunately for Kinder. So down in 16th. He is our first casualty on the race, and Tank, with those 2-lap younger tyres, already in the DRS range of Josh.
Absolutely. This is going to be interesting now. Obviously, I believe Josh and Tank are going to pit again. I think we are going to be looking at a 2-stop for both drivers. But now it's the race of who's going to be in the lead, but also it could even be who's going to pit first. Tank, fastest lap, 107.1. As we said, they're full of fuel, so they are going to be slower times than what we saw in qualifying. DRS is open then, even though we are in the yellow flag zone, but we don't have to worry too much about that because the game doesn't cut off the DRS in the yellow flag, so we carry on racing as normal. Keeps it nice and tight. 5 tenths is the gap. Is that going to be enough for Tank? Opens DRS. He's going to be depleting the battery as much as possible. Josh has already depleted it a lot. We can see it with the red flashing light at the back of the car. It's not close enough yet for Tank, but I think next lap, it could be it.
I think it certainly could be. It shows that even a 2-lap tyre age difference pays a huge margin in terms of pace. And Josh, all that hard work he did in those 2 outlaps has been unravelled in the 2 outlaps it's been for Tank on this tyre. So for Josh, he's going to have his mirrors full of the car behind. Of course, Tank will be trying everything he can. Now get by on the man currently leading this race. The DRS Open down into turn 1. The Asset still leads Ben Tomlin a little bit further back. He's brought that gap down a little bit as well to both Josh and Tank, as that's actually FDQ coming out of the pit lane and now a lap down. So both Cap Lane and Full Damage Queen now a lap down to the rest of the field. Is up into turn 3. We're going to see a move. He looks to the outside line. Josh will squeeze him. There could be some contact made at the top of the hill into turn 3. And Josh just holds on. But this run is now oh so crucial for Tank.
Oh, so crucial. There was almost contact. Tank's going to have a look on the inside. Now, what's it going to be? Josh is going to leave the space. Always got to leave space, but Tank locks up. Josh has got the better run. Out at turn 3. Josh is just pushing the car as hard as he can. Tank with the inside line, though. That is very tight. Going for an overtake there. Josh, though, stays ahead, but only by the skin of his teeth.
Tank really showing his intentions that he wants to snatch this race lead back away from Josh. And once again, Josh doing the good old switcheroo, the up and under through turn 4. He just knows Tank's going to break too late. He begs and just forces Tank to go deep by how late he breaks, and he's able to get the move underneath him. And look into turn 1. Oh, he nearly went for that move into the first corner. It's upset his run, though, out of turn 1, and it's dropped him about half a second behind, so he'll need a monstrous braking zone and exit out of turn 3 if he wants to get the move done into the Swash Gold once more. And look how much time he found there under braking compared to Josh in front of him. He's really showing some expert pace at the moment. There's a yellow flag in the background for somebody, but we'll carry on with this battle. And it's a safety car.
Safety car's out. I'm not too sure as to why, though. I don't see any cars retiring, or there was an incident.
Oh, it's AJP.
Turn 3. AJP.
He's lost his front wing. I think he spun on the exit of turn 1 and has gone into the wall. And he's lost his front wing, and the game's brought out the safety car. So this changes everything. And for Josh, actually here, George, this gives him the perfect opportunity to switch onto a set of the hards and go to the end of the race, because by the time we get back underway, I think we'll have about 20 laps to go, and 16 laps on the hards is certainly doable. You can see by Tristan, who's on those 17-lap-old hards, but he's not gone for it. He's going to wait for his opportunity a little bit later down the line. But I think that was a real golden opportunity there for Josh. Gonna begging.
Yeah, I think a pit stop should have been a good idea there. We're seeing a couple of cars starting to enter pit lane, possibly going for the hards to the end. What a shame, though. It's taken away from the racing, hasn't it? That safety car, because we were seeing a really good battle there. FDQ, 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. But we see the Mercedes AMG GTR Black Series going around the track now, slowing the cars down. It will start to form that crocodile and get all the cars back up into position. But yeah, we're seeing a few drivers go onto soft tyres, I'm noticing here. Boom Beam's gone onto it. FDQ's gone onto the soft tyre as well. So they are probably going to be looking at pitting again. I think if I was Josh, though, I would have pitted for another set of hards.
I certainly would have done. And of course, Bird Mylander making his first appearance of this Grand Prix, and hopefully the last. But yeah, that to me is a really... that is a golden opportunity gone missing for Josh. For Tank, of course, he would have had to stay out and go for a set of the medium a little bit later on. They wouldn't have made it those 16 laps and been in good fighting condition near the end. But I think Asset has really done a good strategic play here. He's got off that medium, went onto the hards. Yes, they're going to be a little bit worse for wear near the end. But if he's able to hang on to the back of Tank and Josh by even a second or 2 seconds, by the time they come out of the pit lane, Josh and Tank, it will be at least 16 seconds they need to hunt down over the remaining few laps. They'll have to be over a second a lap quicker than the cars behind. And for the Asset, I think he's done a strategic masterstroke here, and this certainly could be the one that wins him the race.
Absolutely. The Asset coming in for those hard tyres, that's really going to put him, funnily, in pole position for a win here. For the pure fact, those tyres are newer. He's gonna really save on the rubber now under safety cars, but not at full speed. Able to kind of keep them nice and fresh. So when we go green, that's going to be a massive advantage, because Josh is on 8 laps, Tank's on 6, Ben Tomlin on 9. 3 people he's got to overtake. on older tyres. He's on fresher ones. The asset really could take the victory here out of nowhere.
Certainly could, of course. Unless what Josh or Tank might try doing is with this safety car, stay out for that one-stop strategy. This is where things get a little bit interesting. Drivers potentially change their strategy on the fly. I think Tank, is certainly on the cusp of being able to do that one-stop. Those
Tank's
6
going to
laps.
have to pit again.
Oh
Tank's
no,
got
yes,
to pit
he's
again.
got to pit again for the medium. So this safety car's already shot Tank in the foot, should I say? Sorry, I completely forgot Tank was on the mediums to begin with. Sorry, the hards to begin with, and then gone on to the hards. Josh and Ben, I don't think those hards are going to make it to the end. They're too warm. No. By the time we finish this race, they'll probably be on around about 33, 34 laps, and the tyres do not last that long at all. So the top 3 definitely have to come in again. I nearly thought Tank could have done the one-stop for a second. But, yeah, the asset, this is prime opportunity. And if he's able to keep a consistent pace for the remainder of this one, even with a little drop-off near the end, I think he might have this one in the bag, you know.
I think he might. I really do think he might have it in the bag here. But we could see more pit stops as the race goes on. We could even see another safety car. Hopefully we don't, but we could. We see another safety car, especially within the last kind of 10 or so laps. We could be seeing soft tyres at play here. FDQ and Boom Beam are going to have to pit again. They're on the softs. They are going to have to pit again. Possibly some of the medium runners as well might have to. But like we said, Tank has shot himself in the foot here. Tank really should have pitted the minute that safety car was announced it was out to really get rid of those hard tyres, put a set of mediums on, and possibly go to the end by saving them. Safety cars coming in. There's still 2 drivers not yet caught up to the grid, but they should as the safety car now pulls away, slows down a bit more. This is going to be an interesting restart. No DRS for that first lap of racing, so it's going to be on pure pace. I think the one to watch here will be the asset.
It certainly will be, and I don't think you can count out Tank on trying to get that move done on Josh either. But as Bert Myler takes himself back into pit lane, Josh becomes the effective safety car, and he'll lead us to green flag running. Of course, no DRS for this opening lap after the safety car, and Josh has gone now. He's put his foot to the floor and has really jumped the Tank by 0.6 of a second. The asset is 1.7 seconds back from Ben Tomlin. A disastrous start from the man trying to take these tyres to the end of the race. But here we are up into turn 1. Tank 4 tenths behind Josh as we exit out of that first corner. AJP and a few more squabbling a little bit further back. Atomic Tristan has found himself up to 8th, and no, he's off the road. Tristan off the road. I think he might have just been forced wide and unfortunately went straight on into turn 1, and he drops down into 12th place. Then he moves a little bit further up. I think Jack Lemon might be going for the move on AGP as they head up into the right hander of turn 3. Yes, they are the side by side. Exiting out of turn 3. Nearly some contact made between the pair. That could have been disastrous effects for the pair of them as they head down into turn 4. Who's going to come out on top here? Would it be Jack or AJP? Oh, and Jack locking the rear, sliding round. AJP went off the road as well. Picked up a 3-second time penalty. And for Jack, really unfortunate there when he was going for the attack, being aggressive as Boom Beam now going for the move on the bomber into turn 6. He gets that move done. And for Josh, a dream gets away at the front of the field, but now with DRS enabled, expect Tank to now try and fight back.
Yeah, so shame for Jack there. Jack has been cursing himself, I must admit, all season, saying someone's gonna put me in the wall and I'm gonna be put back in the commentary box. That's what he keeps saying, but it hasn't happened yet, but it nearly happened there. Shame for Josh, shame for Jack there. Jack's gonna have a little look though, try and come back on Bomber. What's he going to be able to do? No, it's it's a blue flag, I think, on Cat Plane there. I thought it was a move for position for a moment. But the asset has been able to make a move on Ben Tomlin there. So the asset is starting to bring those hard tyres to life. Hamish up into P6 as well. Tank and Josh still having a bit of a fight, but Josh has been able to kind of cool them tyres down. He's got a little bit more grip at the moment. Tank is probably thinking, oh, God, when do I box?
Yeah, that is certainly what he is going to be thinking. I think the same for Josh. and Tomlin as well. It's all going to be thinking about when they're going to be coming into pit lane. They'll really need another safety car if they want any chance of keeping with the asset by the time they come into the pits. As you can see, that gap between the top two and the asset is around about 1.7 seconds. And that is what I said is what he really needed. He needed to keep within that 2-second window, really, if he wanted any chance of being able to hold on to this near the end, with the drivers behind him going to be so much quicker, as we see Crispy into pit lane. As here comes Tank on Josh. He's got to look for that move into turn 3. Look how close they are. Nearly contact between the pair as they exit out of turn 3. Look at the drive Tank got on the exit of the corner, and Josh has to cede the position. And that's a beautiful move from Tank around the outside into turn 3. You don't see that one often. And he moves himself up into that race lead. And for the asset, he wanted them to squabble for longer, but unfortunately, Tank's made it through quite easily. And that's not brought the man in third place into the picture.
No, the asset really wishing he got a better start on the restart. Josh is now going to have to try and scramble a piece of pit. What Josh has got to remember, Tank's got to pit again. Tank has now got to pull a gap to Josh, and I don't see that happening with the amount of laps we've got left. So Tank's now got to think, how am I going to pit and when am I going to pit? Is Josh going to throw a dummy? Is Josh going to pit first and go again for the overcut? We don't quite know yet. It's so exciting. We don't know what's going to happen, and I love it. Ben Tomlin enters pit lane.
Oh, that could be crucial, seeing Ben into the pits, as he, of course, is one of the drivers that was at the front of the field on those mediums. They would have been the same age as Josh's. And actually, 1 lap older than Josh. It's a 14-lap-old hards. Came into the pit lane and going on to another set of the hards near the end, as there's George going for a move on Hamis up for 6th place. Nicely done from George on those 5-lap younger tyres. As he moves himself up into 6th, he would try and hunt down AJP in front of him. But actually, really here as well, George, it's not only the asset in a good position in this race alone. It's going to be Crow and AJP as well. They're on the exact same age tyres. Yes, they're going to be a little bit further back, and they'll still jump the Tank, so they could still be a little bit of a nuisance near the end to him. But that also gives the asset a little bit of a shield to the two in front of him when they do come into the pits, because of course they'll have to get by Crow and AJP, who will not want to give up that position. They'll want to keep squabbling with them to hold on to their track position and the finishing position as well. So it just makes things that little bit harder, as look at that as well. The asset within DRS range of Josh is under braking, nearly some contact.
Nearly. Almost a bit of contact there. Josh is still hitting on the back of Tank, wanting to stay within DRS, because when it comes to the pit stops, it will just send Tank even further back. Crow and AJP really could. We saw AJP actually went a bit wide into turn 1, so the gap's kind of just expanded a little bit between him and Crow, but it's not gone too far. But the asset, we thought he was out of it for a minute. Nope, the asset has proved us wrong. And we could see him go up to P2 and then have a look for the lead. I think the lead for the asset is very much on the cards. The flash in the Twitch chat, though, George for P5, it's a possibility. 3 seconds is the gap between George and AJP. So it's a massive possibility that we could see George on the run for P5. But at the same time, George may have to pit again. 8-lap-old medium tyres. Very questionable if they make it to the end.
Certainly are. Let's quickly run you through your penalty count for each driver. So Crow's got 3 seconds, AJP on 6. Then got Boonbeam, who's now up to, with that 10-second time penalty, 16 seconds of penalties. Then it's Hamis on 3. Crispy on 12, 6 for Bomber, Golf Magic on 3, same with Cat Plane as well, and FDQ on 10. As here comes actually Josh looking for the move on Tank once more. Not going to be able to get that move done here into turn 4. Quickly looking at that gap between these drivers and the rest of the field. They've got a 16-second gap between them and Tristan. That's where they'll probably fall out into, Josh and Tank, when they come into pit lane once more. Because Tank has to come in again, and Josh won't be able to get those tyres to the end. And Josh comes in now. He's gone for that undercut against Tank. He wants to really just try and hold back his losses for the remainder of this stint and the remainder of this race. And the asset sees the first one of the two in front dive in, and he'll certainly have a little bit of a grin on his lips here, wouldn't he, here, George, as he sees his rivals for this race victory fall further and further back. Where does Josh come out? He'll probably be around about that 7th, 8th place.
Yeah, medium tyres then for Josh. Very good idea, actually. He saved a set of those mediums, so is now going to be able to push right to the end of the Grand Prix on them. But that is a very good idea there from Josh. There's quite a big gap now. He's going to have to push hard to do that, but the Asset has got a grin on his face. He's going to be able to push even harder now onto Tank. Gap is slowly starting to dwindle away a little bit. I think there might have been a little mistake there, but the Asset really needs to push now. Tank is going to have to pit, possibly even this lap, to cover off the undercut.
Yes, he certainly will. So in the span of 9 laps, Josh, over the course of this next stint, while trying to overtake the cars in front, he's 18 seconds behind, will need to be at least 2 seconds a lap quicker than the Asset to really bring this gap down. You can see how close he is to the back of Atomic Tristan as they now squabble into turns 9 and 10. Tank stays out for a little bit longer as Golfmaniac unfortunately disconnects. And look at that for a move. That's opportunistic at the best from Josh as he heads through turn 9. Saw Tristan go offline, so thank you very much. I'll take that move from you into turn 10. And he moves himself up into 6th place. That was a beautiful move from Josh once more. He really likes to go for these not well-known opportunistic lunges as AJP is actually squabbling with Crow over this 3rd place on the road, and he moves himself up into 3rd place and Crow into the wall. Is that going to cause a safety car? We saw it happen to AJP, and it has caused a safety car. A lifeline for Tank.
A lifeline for Tank. That time in the pit lane is going to drop massively now. Tank is going to have to take it. The Asset and the lapped car was kind of having a battle there as well. Tank needs to pit now to be able to get there as quick as possible because Josh at the minute is in P5. Josh is just coming up to turn 4. Tank is pitting. He's taking it. And I think he might even get away with soft tyres here.
He might be able to, but if I was him, I would be looking for that medium. Assets in as well. This is crucial for the race. Josh is going to have his head in his hands. That strategy to come in those 2 laps earlier, try get the undercut, has not worked out at all. Onto the mediums for Tank. The Asset has gone for softs. We are going to be in for an absolutely chaotic final, probably 4 laps by the time the safety car comes in. At the end of this race, Josh is going to re-emerge. Is it in front of the Asset or not?
Nope.
No, he's going to come out behind the Asset, so has lost a position in all of this. George has stayed out on his 12-lap-old mediums, so he could be a cork in the bottle. But for Tank, that was duly needed. A lifeline thrown his way. Oh, wow. This is going to be spicy indeed. But for Tank, that is how just staying out that little bit longer, praying for a safety car, works into your favour.
Absolutely. Don't quite know what happened to Credit. I think it was very similar to what happened with Fernando Alonso, and I think it was Fernando Alonso and Kimi Räikkönen 2015 up at the top there, just losing it on the grass, and then obviously Räikkönen went onto the top of Alonso there, didn't they? Up at that corner, but that didn't happen this time. I think the Crow lost it on his own and bottled it a little bit. But Crow's gone on the soft tyre, might be able to try and redeem himself a bit if there's no other damage to the car. But can we just say, George BL is risking it, staying out on the medium tyre, and is in 2nd. What is going on there, Jeff?
Yeah, that's actually a really insane strategy from George, but he will be dramatically slower to the field behind. But he won't have too many laps to defend from. And once that DRS is enabled, say even if he's even on the back of the Asset, that will give him plenty of an opportunity to defend from Josh behind. And we could see a George BL podium from, where was he on the grid? As we look at the position changes. George started in 6th. In 4th. Your highest gainer throughout the field was Atomic Tristan. Of course, didn't set a lap time in qualifying. He's up 10 places and is in 7th. So he could be on for a very good race as well, as the Assets really dropped off the back. Oh, no, sorry. That was a lapped car in between the safety car and Tank. That could also pay a little bit of an opportunity here for some of the cars behind, because actually, with this lap car, I think, George, Tank's not going to be the effective safety car.
No, it'll be the lapped car. It's ghosted at the minute. That tells me it's AI. I'm just trying. I think it's Bomber's car. I think it's Bomber. So unless the AI sends Bomber into the pits, the AI is going to be the effective safety car, which is not what Tank wants in the slightest, because that's really going to hinder his chance, because they can't overtake until the start-finish straight. It's not like kind of going back into 2010, 2011, where you could overtake at the first safety car line, which is where the safety car is now, which they're crossing. It's at the start-finish straight like it was back in around 2008, 2009 time. So that's not what Tank's going to be wanting. But at the same time, when they cross the line, the AI has been set quite low, because we've had a few issues with the AI being too fast in the first couple of races. So hopefully we're able to overtake quite quickly and try and just get that gap. But the asset, we're going to have to sit and watch here. Those soft tyres are going to go to the end. We've only got 4 laps remaining. By the time the safety car comes in, we've got 2 cars just... They're probably going to come in this lap. So it's going to be lap 33. It's going to be a 4-lap dash to the finish. This is going to be the race to watch for the whole season, I think.
Certainly is. Tense times become even more pressurized, and for Tank, this will be perfect for his championship aspirations. Of course, tied on points with Josh at the top of the standings, with Josh down in 4th and Tank with that race lead at the moment. This will be a lovely 13-point swing in that championship standings, heading into round 4 at Silverstone next week. And the safety car is in at the end of this. That will have 4 laps of racing action to go here this evening in Spielberg. And George, I did the last safety car restart, so why don't you take the honours here this evening and do this final safety car that we will have this evening.
Let's do it. Take a swig of the drink, wet the whistle. Let's have a go at this then. So, Tank is technically the de facto safety car because of the AI. The AI's, I think, just pushing the car, really, slowing it down. Tank's really struggling a little bit there. But safety cars come in, and we are racing again. Tank's already on the back of the AI, so Tank's got a really good start here. He's going to have to move. He may not even have to move because the ghosted, but there we go. Makes the move. George Biel is now going to have a really good look on the run into turn 1. Doesn't want to overtake there. We've got no DRS here for the start. The asset makes a massive mistake, though. Coming out of turn 1, loses the position to Josh. The asset now is going to have to push even harder. They're 3 abreast at the back there with AJP, Summit Tristan and Ben Tomlin. They're 3 abreast. It makes the move. AJP's gone up into P7, now into P6 against Summit Tristan. Josh is now having a look at George Biel. What can he do on the fresher medium tyres? No DRS from him, having to rely on the battery. Breaks into turn number 3. What a move by Josh, but they're still side by side. George Biel really wants to do it, pushing him wide like Lewis Hamilton and Alex Albon a few years back, 2021, I believe. We've got a yellow flag down into sector 2. There's a car that is spun, I believe it is for... I can't even tell who that is at the moment, but there is a spinner right at the back. But Tank takes the lead and has made it stick on the fresh and medium tyres. Josh able to get up to P2. George Biel 3rd. The asset, though, all over the back of George Biel there.
That was a costly mistake at the start of the lap here for the asset, and that really has taken any chances of this race victory out of his hands, you would surely think at this stage. To think only a few laps ago we were talking about him potentially taking this race victory by a landslide with the strategy he pulled off, but unfortunately the safety car has not worked his way and it's played against him as we head up into turn 3. Round the outside he goes on George. The superior traction should help out in his hands. DRS open as we head down into turn 4, and he moves himself up into 3rd place, and Tank further up at the front of the field with 2.5 laps to go has started to really extend that gap over Josh, and the top 2 in the championship, just like how they qualified, might finish 1-2. The top 3 could potentially finish how they started throughout all the drama we had in the opening stage of this race. It's been chaos throughout, and for George, he's looking still at a potential 4th place finish, but it could potentially fall further down, and those mediums will have a lot of wear on them. They'll surely be near the 70% range. But as we start the penultimate tour of the circuit, Tank 2.3 seconds clear.
3.3 seconds clear for Tank. Tank really has capitalised on that pit stop under the final safety car. Is able to make a very quick run for the finish. 2.2 seconds. The asset was slowly catching Josh, but has dropped off a little bit. It's 1.5 is the gap now. He's going to start to become under pressure by Ben Tomlin if he's not careful. George Biel has dropped to 5th, and he's got a very fast Atomic Tristan behind him. Just having a look at the chat, I've just asked Crow what's happening because Crow has retired. He got a puncher from Jack Lemon's wing, so that is why Crow has now retired. He says the curse has continued. CRISPR now makes a move and is able. Oh, there's a car off as well. Oh, I think that's Moonbeam has gone off with that move with CRISPR, possibly being pushed a little bit too wide there. We're about to start the final lap though. Tank in the lead, 1.8 seconds, so the gap is closing, but I think it might be too little too late. Strategy has prevailed. Tank, very lucky this evening.
Yes, very lucky indeed. He played his cards right. And onto this final tour of the circuit, if he can keep it clean, he will take a second victory of the season, and this will be 2 in a row for Tank as he heads up into turn 3. FDQ picking up a 3-second time penalty, unfortunately, but she currently lies down in 12th place, and will drop her potentially behind Catplane as a move further back for 7th place on the road. AJP being overtaken by Hamus, and actually Crispy as well trying to go for the move into turn 3, and there could be some contact between Boombeam and Crispy as they head on the exit of turn 3. They're side by side heading down into turn 4. Who's going to come out on top in this little squabble? It's going to be Boombeam just about over Crispy, and for Boombeam he'll hold on to that 9th place, but at the front of the field this man has cashed in and been clinical when he has needed it the most. He played the safety car roulette. He hit the jackpot. The strategy may not have been optimal, but it certainly favoured this man at the front of the field. Here in the Styrian Alps, Tank reigns supreme as he takes the fastest lap as well. As he crosses the line, he wins here in Austria. A superb drive from pole position to claim his 2nd victory of the season, with Josh coming up shortly behind in 2nd. The asset with a missed opportunity in 3rd, as Boombeam and Crispy side by side as they enter the line, and Boombeam just coming out on top in that one, and he would have come out on top with penalties too. As actually Jack Lemon jumps 3 drivers thanks to penalties. Brilliant from Jack to move himself up into 8th overall, but that was a frantic Austrian Grand Prix, and Tank takes a crucial 7 points over Josh in the championship, and that's exactly how he would have liked to got it done.
Absolutely. What a race. Tank, again, incredibly lucky with that final safety car, but I think that's what he was definitely banking for. Jack Lemon, though, just through penalties alone, he's had a bit of a mixed race. To go up like that, incredible. But what a race. That race we're going to be talking about for the rest of the week, I think.
Yeah, that was a spectacular race. Carnage throughout, chaos throughout. Really was one to watch and one to look back on throughout this season, and that a moment like that can be crucial come the end of the season for Tank or Josh when it comes in terms of championship points. That final round in Zandvoort. But it is Tank who takes the race victory and the fastest lap, followed by Josh in 2nd, and then the asset in 3rd. The top 3 from qualifying finish in the same order from the Ben Tomlin in 4th. I think actually the top 4 finish in the same order as they started. Then it's George Biel in 5th. The person who predicted that 5th place in chat, you can look back at yourself happy. You did get the 5th place that you wanted for George. Tristan 6th, 7th Hamus, Lemon is 8th, AJP 9th, 10th is Boombeam rounding out your point scorers, and it's Crispy, FDQ. Then we also have, I think, Magic, and a few of the others near the back of the field, who unfortunately did not score any points. But George, that was such a chaotic race, and I think for Tank, there are moments in the championship where you need to get lucky, and he certainly has used up one of his 3 wishes, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. What a shame, really. I think one of his wishes is gone, but what a race it was. Probably the most entertaining race of the season so far. Because like we said at the start, this track is so unpredictable. We just don't know what's going to happen lap by lap. And we saw that, especially in the latter stages of the race. And like I said, we're going to be talking about that one all week. Crow had an incredible race up to the end. Crow was really up there doing some battles. Unfortunately, like I said, a puncher for him took his race away. So wasn't able to score any points there. George Biel, again, P5. Wow, incredible. Didn't think George would get P5 in the end with those old tyres, but was able just to maintain his pace. It's all or nothing going into Silverstone now. And I cannot wait for it next week.
It's going to be an absolute classic in Silverstone, just like Austria, a race with plenty of overtaking opportunities, and it always provides amazing racing. Of course, the birthplace of Formula One, where it made its first appearance in motorsport all the way back in 1950. Of course, sport we know and love was born at that very moment. But let me take you through the rest of the calendar for this season. Of course, we've had the first 3 races. We've had Barcelona, Mexico, and Austria. And of course, as we mentioned, we take a trip over to Britain, to Northamptonshire for Silverstone. Then we head to Spa for round 5 in the Ardennes Forest before a trip over to Brazil for Interlagos, Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, if I can get my words out, that is. Then we have Yas Marina for round 7 before a trip to the to Asia for Suzuka, then back over to the Middle East for Bahrain for a trip to Ring, Kota, and then of course the circuit Zandvoort, the end of the season, October. It should be a frantic season ahead. 3 rounds down of 8 more to go. George, it's still anybody's game in the championship, but I think Josh and Tank here are really just putting a stranglehold on the race for the top.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've seen it all season, these two battling, and it's going to continue on. These two are the fastest drivers that we've got in the league so far, I think, for this season especially. But, you know, going into Silverstone next week, again, we don't know what's going to happen. As we know, Silverstone has brought some very, very good races, this year being one of them, and I was there to witness it in person. And it was incredible. We had, obviously, in the real life Grand Prix, we had the weather having an effect. I know too much about that. I got absolutely soaked. We had strategy, we had incidents, we had penalties for Oscar Piastri on the safety car restart. Everything was happening all at once to then see a Lando victory. Can that be replicated into the game and into next week's race? Of course it will. And again, we see it every single year, even whether we're watching it live or whether we're watching it on a game. Silverstone is always going to surprise people. And going into the rest of the season as well, we just don't know what's going to happen. There's so many tracks here. It's the best of Verstappen season for a reason. We've seen these races from Max Verstappen being made, and it is made entertaining races. We don't like to talk about Yas Marina, but Yas Marina was one of them. Strategy came into play. Yes, of course, the incident happened on that last lap, but you know, we won't go there. Strategy still made play, because if Max didn't change those tyres, he wouldn't have become world champion that year. So we just really don't know what's going to happen going into these last few races. And even then, I must say it, thank God it's race week this week.
Yes, thank God. In real life Formula One, we are back where we'll end off this season, actually, George. We end off the season at Zandvoort, but F1 is back after their season break in real life for Zandvoort. So all of us here are very happy about that. I think if we had any more time off, I think we'd all start going a bit delulu.
I'm already there.
And a bit hysterical from the lack of racing action. That championship is going to the wire as well, just like we have here in the Best of Max Verstappen series for the RAF Lightning Racing. Of course, I think that is going to be it for this evening. Of course, thank you very much for watching. It's going to be possible without the Royal Air Force, or of course, Driveline Media helped produce this evening, and SRC as well, one of our main sponsors. So yeah, it wouldn't be possible without you guys at home either tuning in, giving us attention and the love that you guys give to us, which I highly appreciate. But before we end off, George, is there anything more you want to mention before we round off this?
No, I just think get your mates, get the popcorn. The rest of this season, you won't want to miss it.
Nope. You certainly will not. Join us once again. Should be 7 o'clock next week. Sorry about the delays at the beginning. There was in-game technical issues that we had to iron out. But 7 o'clock next week, we should be back for a trip over to the UK. The home race for the drivers here at Silverstone. So we shall see you then. Make sure to tune in. This is going to be one spicy season ahead. So thank you all very much for watching. Stay safe, stay well. Next time out for a battle in